founder, Marvin May. We gotta get some props to Marvin May. He's gotta put his name down the platform. Marvin, can you raise your hand? Marvin, raise your hand, Marvin. Like I'm stressed you out, Marvin. Marvin, we out here having a good time, having a good conversation. Marvin is stressed out. He's like he killed. Marvin is he is a foster care system. He's been in 3 group homes. First arrested when he was 12 in Julie. He's been in prison in and out. Graduated, changed his life, segued into creating mobile injustice. So Marvin is the reason why we're here. Let's go. Clap it up. All right, Angie,
I mean, if you're in this room and you're on this stage, you are aware of what we are facing and how important it is that we activate, that we organize. I was just talking to Tamika Nasai. She's been out in the streets all day, all week, all month, as I'm sure a lot of people on this stage or in this room have. I guess I'll go across the room and let everybody kind of jump in on what are we not saying? What are we missing? What are the disconnects that we need to quickly connect so that we are just ready to go and focused and doing the right thing? You want to start, Tamika, or Mike? Or we got Mike's? Mike, you know I like to put you on right away. Tamika, you've been in the streets all day.
Gosh golly, thank you. It's my friend, Angie Martinez. First, I also want to join everyone in celebrating Marvin Day. He is a person who does not like to be announced. He doesn't like for folks to talk about him. He likes to paint the background. But we need to give our heroes, our legends, those who are working on our behalf, their flowers while they're alive and not when they're gone. And so I want us to give a round of applause for real to Marvin Day, who helped to bring us all together. And by the way, this stuff costs money. So Marvin had to call people and beg for money to get us into this space. And so, we were talking earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, I don't even know. I was talking to Angie about how the internet has worn me out. And so when you talk about what are we not saying, our motto for these last weeks is argue less, organize more. Argue less, organize more. We need to be in the trenches. There are people right now who can't get to the polls either because they don't have transportation, they don't have information. And by the way, if somebody is hungry, they're not necessarily thinking about going to vote. And so there are so many resources that we can be pouring into our communities right now to ensure that our people feel the need, the desire to get up and do what is necessary to, one, help to really, I've been calling it harm reduction, that we're in a time frame that we have, which is very small, to ensure that those people who may be salivating over our community and our demise, that they don't get the power to control our resources, to control what we do. If some people say, I don't do politics, everything that you do is political. Who you're having sex with, how you're having it, where you're having it, if you're having it, it's all political. What you eat, when you eat it, how you're eating it, whether or not it is healthy for you, what's happening in your communities. We were today at Paul Kids, that it is a food desert where there's no supermarket in the local community. All of that is political. People are making decisions about what goes on in your neighborhood. So, the presidential ticket is important because if you have learned anything in this election season, there's 3 branches of government, but then there are also other elected officials who have extreme power. So when you get up and go to the polls, you're not just voting for the top of the ticket, you're voting all the way down the ballot, and make sure that you are ready when you get there. And the last thing I would say, to go back to the argue less, organize more point, is that the tool of white supremacy is to keep us fighting one another. It is to keep us in so much disarray. We're arguing who don't like who, black men against black women, which is not a thing that we should ever, ever, ever buy into. Ever buy into. Ever buy into. Because whatever is happening with black men in our community is because America has failed to do what is necessary to protect and serve our men. And if our men are not being served, our women are not being served, our children are not being served, our communities are not being served. So we should never allow that. But the more we fight one another, the less we will have the ability to unite and to focus on the enemy who is actually out there against us, and it is not people who look like you, brothers and sisters. So argue less and organize more. We've got days left to do a job, and I'm expecting that each and every one of you join me and don't leave us out here doing it on our own.
Love that. Where my boy? Where's Benny at? Benny on stage? Okay, cool. This Benny's expression directed to you, and then I want all of the men to argue, to answer if possible. You are from the streets, right? Street rapper. You put in work, you've been through it all, but you're up here encouraging people that look like you from the same place to vote. Why do you think it's important? Coming from where you're from, being from the streets, why do you think it's so important now?
Man, definitely to piggyback off what she said is that we can really decide on what goes on in our own neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? What's really happening in the fabric of America, we really can make an impact and a change on that. You know what I'm saying? I got mothers, daughters, sisters, everything, you know what I'm saying, and brothers and cousins, and it's important because everybody not up here with us. Everybody don't live the way we live, you know what I'm saying? So, like she said, people might think you don't get into politics, it's all politics, you know what I'm saying? And you got the right to do it, you know what I'm saying? I told my daughter, she's 19, I told her, like, vote, make sure you vote this year. This your first year you're able to vote, make sure you go do that, exercise that right, because it's the people depending on your vote, we got to do the right thing, you know what I'm saying?
When I saw Beanie Siegel out here, I was like, it's serious. I've been a fan of Beanie for 20 years. I've seen Beanie do a lot of stuff in the street, but to see him knocking on doors, sitting down with young black men, telling their importance of voting, I just want to give you props for that, bro, because that's what growth looks like in hip hop. Same question, Beanie. Why do you feel like it's so important coming from where you from?
Well, I always say the closest to the problem, the closest to the solution. I was one of those children. We went to
Paul kids.
the Paul kids, and I talked with them. I didn't talk to them. I didn't talk at them. I talked with those kids. And I think if a lot of us take that approach, a lot of us just talk at each other. We talk to one another, but let's talk with one another. And you know, one of my biggest records, why I'm here, because I go through it so you wouldn't do it after me. If I can't teach these kids or anybody nothing, I can teach them what not to do from the mistakes that I made in my life. And it's never too late for change. It's never too late for change. So if I can do it, I encourage all of us to do it.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's safe to be square.
And say it again.
It's safe to be square. You know,
You say safe being square. You say I'm sure being square. Being square shit.
yes.
What was the sentiment out there today too? Like what does the energy feel like? Especially you talking to the kids, or I'm not sure what age groups, but are these voters? Or I mean,
Yes, they're future boys. That's our future.
Yeah.
I sat and I talked with these kids, and a lot of them got dreams and aspirations, but we won't know if we don't talk with them. And I sat with them for a while. You know, when I talked to them, you know, I got to, know their names. I asked them, what is your name? What do you like to do? And they told me, and I'm like, and one kid, he said he wanted to be a police officer. And normally, the younger me would be like, ah. But I talked with him, I asked him why. And he said so he can make his neighborhood safe. This is a 7, 8-year-old kid. So like I said, when we talk with these children and we give them a chance to express themselves instead of us trying to tell them what to do and who to be, ask them what they want to do and who they want to be and help them. Because we all can do it. We all can do it. All of us might not be rich, but, oh my God, grandma. My grandmother taught me a long time ago, and I never understood what she said until recently. She said, a constant drip will fill up a cup. A constant drip will fill up a cup.
That's voting. I didn't say you said that is voting.
That was some real wise words there. J. Alphonse Nicholson, pleasant being in this room with you all. A lot of people know me as an actor, but before that, you know, I was in the streets of New York, North Carolina, making a living for myself and figuring out a way just like everybody else. And I feel like at the time, I didn't understand the importance of knowing what's going on in your local community. Understanding what's going on, there's always going to be a president, but you need to know who's your mayor, you need to know who's your local congressman, you need to know what's going on within your own city. We don't have any control over those things most of the time, unfortunately. Our streets have potholes because we didn't vote for the right person who made sure that those potholes will be taken care of. So I think it's important that we understand that not only do you need to go and vote for your president, and I'm gonna vote for the person who looked like my auntie. I said that when I was out there in the hall. I'd rather vote for the person who looked like my auntie than anybody else. And so I'm not telling you who to vote for, but I'm telling you it's important to understand what else is going on within your community. And if you do a minimum amount of research, just a small amount of research, you'll see that some things just make more sense than others. Everyone has their flaws, no one's gonna be perfect, so don't look for somebody to be perfect. Look for somebody that has solutions. And like Benny said, somebody that's closest to this problem, right? Somebody who has some type of familiarity with what you have going on. So I preach that to my daughter. My daughter's 18 this year as well. This is her first time being able to vote, and she get to vote for a black woman, which is incredible. And so I think encouraging your young daughters, encouraging people who look like you, say, you know what, you get a chance to make history. You get an opportunity to go and do something that's never been done before. And if to be honest with y'all, I just want to see what that feels like. I want to see what it's like to have a black woman as president. I think it's going to be pretty dope. I think it's going to be amazing. And being on stage with these incredible artists here, these incredible people who've all been through their own journey, I think it's a testament to that we all can go through our own things. We all can go through different journeys and walks in life. I think we got one common goal, which Ms. Mallory was saying perfectly, is that we can't be against each other. The whole narrative of black men against black women, whatever you can do to help cease that narrative, I think that's part of the solution as well. So I know we don't have all the answers, but I think being here, having this fellowship, having this communication is going to spread out into the neighborhood. But I'll leave you with one thing: please know what's going on within your local communities.
I guess the more recent mic I would ask, now we're here, you know, people, I've been hearing this a lot, people are decided, they already know that, you know, people are decided, or for whatever reason. Is there a way to, I know we're supposed to be nonpartisan here, but some of us are not. If you happen to not be, feel free to not ignore my question. But I guess the question is, what do we need to tell people now? What is the important information? What is the call to action right now as we are days away from voting and making this decision? What is at stake that you would share?
Go vote.
I know, but
Now, there
I
is
hear a lot of people saying they not.
no, what we know scientifically proven is that if you happen to be a Democrat in the South per se, when more people come out to vote, Democrats win. So if you're a Democrat, or if you tend to lean Democrat, like I have a lot of my life, then you're going to know that the sheer numbers. So you know that to me, there was a man named James Orange here. He was an organizer with Dr. King. If you watch the movie Selma, the actor Omar played James Orange. And what James Orange was a connector. He knew Arthur Blank. He knew the person whose name was Blank standing in front of the store. He organized hundreds of vans every election year. Those vans drove through all through his West Side neighborhood in the Southeast Atlanta corridor. They put people in those vans. They got people back because he solved the problem. The problem was we couldn't get to the polls. He saw by making sure union members acted as organizers. They organized people getting on those. His daughter, God bless the dead, Jamila, did the same. His wife, Cleo, did the same. So what we know is, if you happen to lean Democrat, you just got to get the numbers out. So don't go vote alone. Make it like going to the fucking hookah bar. Get 5 or 6 of y'all together and go vote. I laugh and joke and play a lot, but I'm from a very serious neighborhood. I'm from a neighborhood called Collier Heights, Nashville. And it's serious because all the black people decided in 1946 they didn't want to fight white people to live next door to them. In fact, they didn't even want to party with white people. So they built clubs in their basement. And now you watch a movie about it, about a robbery that happened in Atlanta during the Muhammad Ali fight. That is the neighborhood I grew up in. It was not a strange thing to see a baccarat table or a card table in someone's basement because they ran their own clubs out of their homes. A club in that neighborhood is called the Blue Flame. As much as tourists yell the Magic City, neighbors of Atlanta yell the Blue Flame. I got a text first thing this morning from the proprietors of the Blue Flame that said, Mike, you told us when it came time for election cycle, we were going to put a vote, register the vote table outside the club. We're prepared to do that. When we do it, will you come back? I said, absolutely right. Have the 200 ones ready. So, if you register the vote, I'll buy you a dance. So, for me, if it's just about having Democrats win, just get the numbers out. Now, I also grew up in a neighborhood that had black conservatives and black liberals. And I'm gonna tell you, conservatives are organized. They're constantly organized. They're organized in the traditional places like churches. They're organized in non-traditional places like barbershops. So Democrats had better be doing the same thing. It was an amazing experience to be in the neighborhood that I grew up in, next to an organization like Paul Kids, next to the restaurant that me and T.I. opened that we bought from Helen Hart. That's a 50-year-old oldest restaurant on Bankhead. It was a great thing to go canvass that neighborhood and let people see Jada and Beans and Sam out there. Because Jada, Beans, and Sam got a chance to see a truly black neighborhood, owned and operated by black people. The politicians are black, the business people are black. Some of the corporate money that's come in has been white. The black people have directed, and I'm proud of that. But beyond that, what the neighborhood got to see is that somebody gives a shit about what we have to say. So them old men that was on the porches watching the children to make sure nobody hurt, harm, or molest them, say, big dog, we going out to vote, big dog, I already voted. And they for real, they not bullshit. They tell me where their polling place is and they know they're not lying because I've helped get people to those polling places. So if you want, who Angie's alluding to win, get people to go out and vote. Make it a girls' night out. Make it a homeboy hangout. Take 4 or 5 people with you. That's the way you win elections. And I want to tell people in Atlanta, beyond who wins his presidency, you have a district attorney up. You have state representatives coming up in the next 2 years. I saw someone on Twitter insult me and say, Mike just focuses on hyper-local. He cares about who's going to be the dog catcher. You're goddamn right. We got a lot of expensive dogs in my neighborhood, nigga. So I don't know what the fuck your neighborhood is like, nigga. But I want a neighborhood that ain't going to kill my $8,000 pool, nigga. You know what I mean? So I just suggest that you look down. You can go right now on who's running in Georgia. You can look at the data and you have enough time to click in on research. And it's important that we do because it's the easiest way. It's like when the doctor tell you gotta lose a little weight, I lost a little weight, right? So the doctor's like, you gotta work out and all that shit. But you know the best thing to do, Mike, is like, what? Say, man, just stop eating after dying. Just the most passive way you can let this republic know how you want to do it is to go vote. Now the challenge is the day after voting, you have to do what Stokely Carmichael said, and that's being a continued state of organizing. After you vote, you have to hold politicians accountable. This pothole is still in front of my house. And if it stays like that, I'm going to be in your office protesting every fucking day. Right now, as I talk to you as a restaurant owner who's bought a restaurant with another rapper, and we have a rooftop. People who give a testimonial say, man, it is amazing to be able to go to this restaurant and sit down there, and we're going to get to stand on the rooftop, and I don't have to go to Buckhead or Camp Creek and take my girl on a date. At the very same time, there's a city council person trying to put a ban on restaurants with rooftops. Now, he's not going to ban it in his section of town. In his section of town, he's going to have shit like casinos and hotels, and those corporations are going to get to have one. So I'm going to be in his city councilman's office, and at those meetings, raising pure deep fucking hell until that motherfucker rescinds. And it's not that I don't like him, I don't care, but I've seen out there swimming in his pool, they're having fun together, but out there lives 4 miles from my restaurant, maybe 3. I want him to sit on my goddamn roof and eat some fish. And if that's not going to happen, I'll raise hell until it happens. Because that's what politics is about. It's about the allocation of resources in your community. So if you don't vote, you just telling them, I don't want shit, I'll accept the shit you give me, and I'll eat shit and act like it's cake. And I say, no. If we don't eat this shit cake, we're going to eat it together. If we don't ban this shit in my neighborhood, we're going to look to ban something in your neighborhood. And if I still don't get satisfaction, I'm gonna call Sister Figaro. I'm gonna have her put on another How to Run conference, and I'm gonna run against your punk ass. Because black people, at these casinos coming out of the neighborhood, right over here, the casino is 1 mile away from the hood. If you're going to have a rooftop on the goddamn casino, I'd be damned if I can't put one on the top of Blue Flame Dog too. So I'm here to tell Atlanta, you are the absolute prototype for what black voters, black private money, and black public officials can accomplish when we do it together. This is a city where 70% of the schools are named for black emancipators. Charles L. Harper, Frederick Douglass, Darrow, Benjamin E. Mays. Your kids go to school that should make them proud. The fact that our kids are not doing as well as they could be should be a reason we beating on the public educator's door and saying, what do we need in our school? Frederick Douglass, the school I went to, had a barber's programs there. So now the little boy who know he don't want to go to college can be making money and come work for me directly out of high school. We have the ability in these black ghost towns that once were powerful cities, Philadelphia, Chicago, Detroit, and new cities that are opening up, Charlotte, Tampa, Birmingham. 54% of black people live in the South. We can be politically dominant here. And if we don't go vote, we are failing on an opportunity to do so. I don't want us to keep looking at the system like welfare, saying, what you got for us? I want us to see like empowered people and say, what have you got for us based on the demands we give you? In Atlanta, you're sitting in this building, that's some young black men. This is all about young black men. This ain't nobody else giving you no charity. This is young black men. They built this. The city has built over the last 50 years the opportunity for black people. I want to see that continue in Atlanta. If you don't vote, that does not continue. If you do not vote, someone comes in and decides what they think black people ought to do. And y'all niggas don't need to be on no rooftop. I'm tired of us perceiving voting as though it's a charitable event and we wait for some savior to come out the goddamn sky and say it's why I vote. My vote is an ammunition. My vote is a tool. My vote is more powerful than a gun. Because if I can organize 800 votes in the city of Atlanta, I can tell you who the next mayor is going to be. Because the last 3 mayors have only been elected by 700 votes. So that's how much voting means to me. I'm sitting here because Mayor Jackson in 1973 said if you're going to do business with the city of Atlanta, 29% of your company must be owned or operated by a black person. Now he was slick as hell too. Now the light-skinned nigga had a way to help. This dude he said 29% of your company got to be owned by white folks. So what he did was force black people and white people to work together. He forced black ingenuity and ideas to partner with white capital, and because of that, we had people like Ted Turner who built CNN here. We have a black family like the Russell family that built this whole corridor along Northside Drive. So when I talk as an Atlantic, I'm not talking theory. I'm talking about what you're sitting your ass under and what's over your head. And that's real, tangible stuff. So I'm going to tell you to go vote because there's some shit our community deserves. But if you don't vote, we'll never get it because you'll have the wrong people representing you. And it's that simple.
You sure you want to follow that now? My mic is about to follow.
He got this. Maurice been on the trail. He's been doing the work.
But let me add, peace y'all. Peace y'all. All right. My name is Maurice Mitchell. I'm the National Director of the Working Families Party. The Working And the Working Families Party is what happens when people come together who aren't handpicked from the political establishment in order to demand a seat at the table. And we've been working 20 states. We have Georgia. And the thing that I want to add a few things, because you asked about what's at stake. And there's a lot of things at stake, and it's really important because we're a few days away from Election Day. So, how many people know about Project 2025? Okay? So I invite everybody, listen, I'm so happy that the Heritage Foundation decided to write that, create it as a PDF so you can download it on their website, because it explains to all of us, and as an organizer, I'm always trying to explain to people the purpose of politics, the purpose of elections. Elections are not simply events. Elections are about agendas. Elections are about the future. And Project 2025 is an agenda for you, right? It didn't come out of thin air. It is the byproduct of an at least 5-decade one-sided war against working people, right? And it is the culmination of hundreds of authors. You talk about how conservatives organize, Mike. This is conservative organizing. Hundreds of organizations came together, right? And I know there's people who claim, like, you can take this word for it if you want to imagine that the former president has nothing to do with it. Or you could decide that when 140 of his closest friends and associates and cabinet members, 100 plus organizations in and around the Republican and conservative movement all come together to write a document by an organization where he flew on a private jet to go to their event, where he said in April that was his agenda. You could agree with that or just believe that 2 weeks ago he has nothing to do with it. That's up to y'all. But when you read this document, when you read what it says, when you read how many times they say the word woke, what is woke code for? When they say they want to take wokeness out of our education, that means they don't want to teach proper black education and black history. When people are on the campaign trail saying that they want to institute the death penalty for quote-unquote drug dealers, who are they talking about? Are they talking about the Sackler family, the greatest drug dealers in history? Right? Who are they talking about? Right? So they're coming for us and they're writing it in ink. They're explaining it explicitly. They're coming for our jobs, they're coming for the Department of Education, they're coming for Head Start. And don't believe me, do the knowledge. Go ahead, download that document, read it for yourself. It's in black and white. So that's the agenda that might be waiting for us if all of us do not vote and do not organize others to go. Who here, raise a hand, who plans on voting? Who already voted? I wish I could tell you that was sufficient, but it's not. Because on top of you voting, you need to make sure you take at least 3 people with you. So who's gonna pledge to make sure at least 3 people they know vote? All right, that's one of our assignments. But on top of that, and Mike was clear, Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael said it best, organize, organize, organize. So I wish I could tell you that our job ended on election day. But election day is the 5th, the 6th is agenda day. And for far too long, they've come to us as black people, hungry for black votes, but then when it comes to a black agenda, they begin to have amnesia. And that needs to end today as well. And that's actually why this conversation is so important. Because in order to make that happen, you need to organize. And I see my sister April from SEIU up here. You need to organize in a union if you're a worker. You need to find a grassroots organization. And if you don't have one, you might need to build one. You need to organize with the Working Families Party. And look, our organizations have receipts as long as the day is long. We have CVS long receipts, right? So here in Georgia, we're working at the top of the ticket. We're gonna knock on 300,000 doors. And we've endorsed in the presidential, but we've also endorsed 26 other candidates on the local level. Because local politics truly matter. I wanna tell you a story about a local politician. So in 2003, in the city of New York, how many people know Tish James? How many people know Tish James? Well, Tish James, she was a public defender and a consumer protection lawyer. And the political establishment, I'm talking about the white and the black establishment, wanted nothing to do with her. We, the Working Families Party, we ran her as an independent, not a Democrat, not a Republican, an independent Working Families Party city council member. And she ran and she won. And she worked her way to the top of New York politics. She is now the New York State Attorney General. Why that matters is that man that so many people felt so frustrated with for so many years that never faced accountability. That black woman is the person that had him feel some accountability for once and for all, with 34 felony convictions for his crimes, right? If we didn't invest in the local politics in 2003, there would be no Tish James as Attorney General. There would be no accountability for Agent Orange. This is why local politics matter and why local organizing matters. So when you talk about what's at risk, our black asses are at risk if we don't organize and we don't vote, and we don't make sure that every single person that we know, our family members, our co-workers, our people in our group chats, vote like our lives depend on it, because it does.
There it is.
Thank you, Maurice.
I told you we had to worry about my man tonight.
By the way, there's one thing I want to say. I was in here about 4 years ago when Fonnie was running. That's why I want to bring this up. And it was about 30 people in here. It was Fonnie, Paul Howard, and Christian Watts running. And it was a local election and no one cared. And now look how that turned out for our community. All of the Ricos coming in. It's very important to focus on locals too, guys. It's super important.
Beyond the RICO, let's make sure that we understand that Fonnie's the person that brought Trump and his agenda up on targets here.
No, I'm just saying in general.
That just, just saying that if we had not, I remember her running this fall, but had we not worked hard to get her in office, Trump would have taken Georgia in a radically different way. So if Georgia gets flipped, it's a big part because of Fonnie's work, and if it doesn't, she followed back, and you got to give her credit for that. I still don't think you should prosecute rappers according to lyrics, so
That's what I was trying to go with.
For sure. I'd like to hear from the women on the panel in terms of what's at stake and also how just some of the narrative that's been spread about having a woman running for president and the divide that Tamika was talking about. I'd just like to hear from the women on what's important to you guys right now and what you want to share.
Thank you so much. Again, my name is Asoso, so I'm the founder of Onyx Impact. We are thank you.
Hey, Onyx.
We're an organization dedicated to fighting disinformation, targeting the Black community in particular. And so, what we know about disinformation is that it works on everybody. It works on everybody because our brains work in a very similar manner. And that is that the more times you hear something, the more likely you are to believe it's true, and the more likely you are to believe other people believe it's true as well. And so there is an amplification problem with propaganda that is being made worse by our current social media environment. And it is being leveraged and weaponized to divide our community. One of the biggest strategies of disinformation is to divide communities, all types of communities, not just Black communities. But what is happening in this cycle is a lot of bad faith efforts to divide our communities. What do I mean by that? I mean, just earlier today, they exposed the Black insurrectionist online as being a white guy from New York. Right now, we know there's an ad running on BET with a lot of young Black people talking about how much they hate a certain candidate and how much their lives have been made worse off in the last 4 years. That ad by fortheblackpeople.com is being run by 3 white conservatives, right? We know that thousands of texts, some of you in this room probably got one, not just in Georgia, but in other states, are being sent to folks with a link saying vote here, right? That we've got tons of people calling us confused as to what is that message, what does it mean? That's actually misinformation being spread. We know that in Michigan, just last week, they found a particular GOP candidate taking an ad out in a Black newspaper telling folks that election day was November 6th. It is November 5th. All of these tactics are on display right now, and it is a political strategy to divide our communities, to divide American descendants of slaves from the African diaspora, to divide Black men from Black women, to make all of these divides. So what do we need to do about it? One of the things you can do is go to factcheckthebs.com. One of Onyx Impact's websites where you can find actual resources to be able to check what you see. That's going to be incredibly important as we get towards election day and the disinformation gets worse. That night, the second the polls close, we are going to see a fever pitch of disinformation until we know the results. right? So we need to be prepared for that. We need to make sure that our friends and families know that's gonna happen. We need to make sure we can be calm throughout that storm. And the other thing we need to do, just to back up what my fellow panelists have said, is vote early. Voting on election day is great. Voting early is what matters. Voting early makes sure, like if you've already voted and you get that text, it don't matter, right? If you've already voted and someone's spreading lies or ads on TV, it doesn't matter. We know that young people especially have more trouble voting on election day in some swing states. You know, a young black man is 27% or 27 times more likely to be given a provisional ballot on election day than an older white man. If you get people to vote early, they have a chance to cure their mistakes. They have a chance to go back. They have a chance to ask questions. And so don't just bring other people out to vote on election day. Bring other people out to vote early. And don't just ask them what their plan is. If you got a car, take them. Right? This is where we need to be getting aggressive. Oh, you plan on voting when? Tomorrow? Tomorrow's a great day. I'm actually off tomorrow. You want me to take you? We can go together. Right? We need to be literally all of the people who are skeptical or what have you about what is happening in our country. We need to be ready to have open conversations with them, not demonize them. We need to be ready to send them good resources. And we need to be ready to get them out to these polls to vote early.
Thank you. April, let's go.
So first I have to thank Marvin and the organizers for having us. I'm April Barrett, I'm the president of SEIU. Where we represent 2 million service and care workers across the United States of America. And I know I'm in the South, everybody don't get union, but it's real simple. We organize people, we organize money for power, right? And to your question about what's at stake, particularly for women, you know, our rights for autonomy over our bodies, particularly here in the South, right, is real. And if we don't think they will pass a federal abortion ban if given the opportunity, like, shame on you. They will do it in a heartbeat. But I think for most of us, the economy, right, and how we live, and how are we not just struggling, but we actually have an opportunity to create the conditions where we can live lives that are joyful and where we can thrive, right? And that doesn't happen if we sit on the sidelines. And what I would love for folks to take away, and you've heard it a lot, but I just want to put a fine point on it. This election cannot be about the name you check on the ballot. If that is your reason for voting, like, come up with another one. This election is about you and your future. This election is about creating the field on which we can fight for better for ourselves and for our families, right? And so think about it that way. Like, what kind of field, what kind of playing field do you want to have to fight on, right? Do you want to fight on a field where you got one arm tied behind your back and they cut off your right leg? Or do you want to fight on a field where you can actually stand with other soldiers who are arm in arm with you, fighting for a better future for ourselves and our families? And so that is what that's what's in front of us, and that's what's at stake. And we have the opportunity, you all, we know what Project 2025 is. It's coming for us. But we have the opportunity to actually build the type of power where we can come together to end poverty wages for once and for all. I don't think y'all heard me. Wrap your head around ending poverty, right? And when you look at the shit in our community that's the worst, it all points to one place, and that is poverty, which is a system that has been designed to get exactly what it has gotten, right? And we know poverty was born with bringing African slaves to these shores, right? And so let us, in this election, think about what we are trying to upend for once and for all in this country, and I think it's about creating a better future for all of us. And the last thing I'm gonna say is, on the disinformation, we're gonna win this election for us. But if the worst happens and we don't, I'm not gonna let them put it on the backs of my brothers. right? I am not gonna let them put another gas in my life. And I invite you all to join me in that. It is an overwhelming majority of white men that vote against their own interests, not black ones, right? It's a majority of white women that vote against their own self-interests, not black ones. And so let us not get twisted by the realities, right? And I'm not saying sexism and misogyny and racism isn't real, because it is, and y'all, we got work to do, right? We got work to do about how we show up for one another. But let us not put this burden of losing this election on our brothers' backs, because it is not going to be their fault.
Thank you. Speaking of that, that's where I was about to go. I'm gonna talk Black Sam. It feels like black men are not getting completely behind Kamala like they should. What do you think it is that about black men that's making us not do that? And what do you think needs to happen for that to change? Because like we was raised in the house, my mom was like, that's BS. What would you say?
I can speak for myself. Probably for me, it's more about the issue. So I think just point blank, just focusing on for anybody that may be swayed and not really know if they speak about Kamala, if they want to support or not. I think it's identifying the issues and hammering them down, and less on you should just be voting, and more like why and what exactly it is. And for me, you know, personally, if I hear anything that makes sense for me and mine, the fact that she's black or they black, I'm for sure voting. So it's like common sense. So for me, it's like why are they? Why are people kind of? It's like what's going on? I think just being honest. So if the push is like education towards black males, then we need to be hammering down the topics and like what exactly the policies are. I think that's the disconnect. Speaking honestly.
Thank you. Woody? Same question.
Hey, Woody.
My brother Woody. What up, Woody?
What's up?
How you doing? Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
I'm gonna ask y'all a question. Is this a safe space? Alright, cool. So the other day my mama hit me. I was in the kitchen making guacamole, because you know I've been in the kitchen cooking. And she was like, who you voting for? And I was like, Mama, honestly, I'm worried about paying my mortgage. I ain't really worried about voting, you know? And she was like, well, son, you know, there's people out here that don't want women to have abortion. These are things I don't know about because I live so far in my head. I'm so far into art, I don't know what's going on in the world. You know what I mean? So I was like, Mom, I'm gonna do better and like try to educate myself more. So I'm always DMing Mike, yo, thank you for the info. Like I'm always hitting you in your DMs, like thank you for the info. You know, and I'm watching D1 do his thing. So I'm just here to learn so I can go back and tell people that's like me that don't understand it. You know what I mean? Why it's important for us to vote. So I apologize.
Thank you for that. That's good. Thank you.
That's good. So
We need more of that, by the way. We need more of that. Honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
My brother, you next.
First off, I'm Isaac Keys. Hello, everybody. Woody, thank you for asking this is a safe place. I feel like we're family right now, you know? And, you know, look, it's Morehouse building homecoming right now. I'm fresh up out of day party.
Heard you.
You know what I mean? So I want to get a place of how I feel as we talk about as a black man. I don't know all the details about politics. Politics can sometimes feel intimidating. It can sometimes feel like I don't really know what's going on, but I know a feeling that I have inside. And I know as being a black man, a man of Morehouse, a man of Morehouse Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, being an uncle, a son, a brother, I know those feelings, and I know that we are all, our ancestors fought for us to be able to have the right to fight, to vote. And that feeling is that I know right from wrong. I know what feels good inside. And with that being said, it's like, I just look at it, it's like, to me, it's very simple. We make it harder sometimes than we have to do. But the key thing, and I learned from this stage, being on the stage, is understanding. Like, we have to have these conversations so we can gain understanding. And when you have understanding, you can either like, you know what, I don't agree with you, but I understand. And I had conversations with people that voted for Trump, you know, his first term, and I was like, okay, I get it. I see why you did that. You know, you say 800,000 in taxes, but the second go around, excuse me, sir. You know, and that's just how I felt as a man. Like, no, we can get you on that money part, the taxes part, but now we want more of the values and divisiveness and where we going as a country. We need somebody good to lead the country because we understand that all this shit is really messed up. Like, we look at the TV, we look at the news like, shit, this is America. This shit is fucked up. The world is crazy in its own right, and we try to just, you know, I'm gonna just take my circle, I'm trying to protect my circle, because it's what we can try to do as a parent or as a guardian of somebody. You can protect your circle. Because we look at the news, my mom every day, boy, you don't open that email, and don't you look at this. My mom watch the news, and the news is so negative in so many aspects. You understand? So it's like, you have to like differentiate between the two, and I look at things from a positive mindset. I'm optimist. You know, I'm an artist, and I'm also, you know, you want to talk football, talk football. You want to talk acting, talk that. Politics, not so much. But I say that all to say is that let's all gain understanding. Let's all continue the conversation with one another. And as we said, like, I'm at Mars, we sit on the porch. I'm on the porch over in the West End with my boy in the same house in the historical district. All of us are talking about finances. We're talking about what we're doing for, you know, our kids, what we're doing for everything. It's a conversation, and it's big, and it's good to have that type of community. So let's continue that, and I think we'll do well.
Okay, let's go. Yeah, what's my brother D1? Let's go, D1. D1, why do you think it feels difficult for men to get behind, black men in particular, to get behind Kamala?
I don't know the answer to that, but I'm gonna still speak, but I don't know the answer to that. Listen, y'all, this is the easiest election in the history of the United States right now.
Let's go.
Like, let's keep it gangster for a second. This is the easiest decision that you have ever had to make in your life. You got intelligence versus ignorance. You got common sense versus a con man. You heard me? Like, literally, it's so easy. You got somebody who tries to rule by intimidation and striking fear into people, and you got someone who is willing to listen and to be patient and to say, okay, let's figure out how to grow together. What we'll do oftentimes, black people, because we love each other so much, we'll pick each other apart. And we'll overlook all of the great things about one another and just focus on that one negative aspect of what we don't like about each other, right? And now that'll get exploited in an election like this, to where, as black men, we sitting here airing out all our grievances with black women for the past 200, 300, 400 years and projecting that upon one woman. And saying that's the reason why she ain't worthy of my vote. Because I still got issues with my grandma, you heard me? And my mama did this to me when I was young. Y'all, this is the easiest election ever. We just got to show up, you heard me? That man runs a cult. I'm telling y'all, listen. But that might be negative in some ways, but they ride for him because it's a cult. So for them, it's like, no, he represents the eradication of what we hate, that we just don't have the power to eradicate ourselves, you heard me? And that's us, by the way. So with that being said, we gotta make sure that we care. The same way we stay up, I'm a rapper. The same way y'all stay up till midnight, cause y'all know our new album gonna drop at midnight, and y'all wanna hear it as soon as it drop, or the pre-sale tickets go on sale at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, and you at work pressing refresh, so you can get them concert tickets for your favorite rapper? That's how we gotta treat this election, y'all. That's how we gotta treat this election. I used to be a math teacher back in New Orleans, where I'm from, before I became a rapper. Numbers really matter to me. Let me read something for y'all. And when I read each stat, I want y'all to say, not on my watch. Let's practice. All right. In 2016, old boy won Wisconsin by 23,000 votes. But in Milwaukee, alone, 93,000 blacks didn't vote. In 2016, Lil Daddy won Florida by 113,000 votes. But in Miami alone, 379,000 blacks didn't vote. In 2016, old boy won Michigan by 11,000 votes, dog. But in Detroit, 277,000 black people didn't vote. Man, in 2016, Lil Daddy won Pennsylvania, Beans. He won Pennsylvania by 44,000 votes. But in Philadelphia, 238,000 blacks didn't vote. And last but not least, in 2016, Lil Daddy won Georgia by 211,000 votes. But in Atlanta, the black Mecca, 530,000 blacks did not vote. That's all I got to say.
I don't never want to hear y'all hate on light-skinned niggas again. Damn, light-skinned niggas. Shouts out to people. Red niggas mouth.
On that note, I'm gonna throw it to JP. No, sorry, JP. Sorry, JP. That was amazing. No, I did want to throw it to JP because when Woody was saying that he didn't feel even connected to vote, and you were saying, you know, people died to vote. I think when we spoke the other day, you really talked about a different perspective of why it's important to vote, not just for ourselves, but for others. I think you have a beautiful story, and maybe you share that with the room.
Yeah, definitely. So the story that I represent is that of 15 million plus undocumented immigrants, you know, that were killed to vote, that are counting on the people that can't vote, who it's their birthright, you know, having been born in the U.S. To get an opportunity to vote, or that they get to vote rather. And so that this looming threat of mass deportation is a real thing. Whether that will actually be carried out or executed, probably very unlikely logistically, but nonetheless, the battery that it puts in people's backs that feel that immigrants are a threat to this country and they don't see as a active participant and members of the community of this country and the future of this country, that's dangerous, you know? And so, clearly, you know, we're in Atlanta, you know, in this room, the majority of black folks, right? So our black brothers and sisters are very well aware of what certain rhetoric can create. And so, I speak here, you know, as a person that represents, you know, the neighbor and all the disenfranchised communities that are black and brown. You know, I think that term is oftentimes used very loosely, but in reality, we are neighbors. You know, we grow up in the same communities with the same lack of resources, but oftentimes we treat each other like that's their issues and these are our issues. But in reality, when we look at the numbers, we represent the two largest voting blocks, right? So, does it make sense for us to work in two different directions, or does it make sense for us to work together? Makes sense for us to work together, right? Now that's going to take a lot of time, but I think it's just having to open up the line of communications and understanding that we're on the same boat. You know, whether we understand each other as well as we'd like to or not, the line of communication has to be started. You know, if we want to make the changes that impact our communities collectively, and then obviously there's things that are very hyper-specific, you know, to African American people and also to Latinos, right, in this country. So, I mean, for me, like I said, it's just super important to vote, and there's people that are undocumented, like I was, that contribute billions of dollars, right? And a lot of people don't know that undocumented immigrants pay taxes, right? People just quickly assume that you're working for cash under the table and not a single dollar is given to Uncle Sam. But in fact, there's a nice thing called a tax ID number that documented immigrants use to pay taxes. And oftentimes, when it's time to get that nice tax refund, right? A lot of undocumented immigrants don't collect in fear of deportation, right? So where does this money go? Where does it sit? So that's the economic part of it, right? That's what we're talking about, numbers, right? We live in America where people like, talk about money, that's what carries weight. Aside from that, I just want to stress the fact that undocumented immigrants, albeit you came from LA, and there you go, are predominantly Hispanic and probably a lot from South America, Central America, Mexico, because of the proximity, of those countries to the U.S. As a very recent, we saw, and it's been highlighted that there's undocumented immigrants from other countries. In fact, about 2 or 3 years ago, my wife and I set up a small group of people, maybe about 30, 40 people that were volunteering at an orphanage in Laverne, California, where they were hosting a lot of those kids that we were seeing front and center in the media that had been separated from their families. And you wouldn't imagine the stories, of a lot of these kids, everything from, at least the kids that we had contact with, anywhere from ages 5 to age 16, 17, and the stories were just absolutely incredible. In fact, one of the young ladies that was part of that group of kids was probably 13 or 14 years old. She started breaking down in tears when she saw her 2-year-old. And I didn't quite understand it just for face value until I spoke with her. And it's because she is a mother herself, and her daughter's back home. Immigrants coming from two kids that were like 15 or 16 that were sent by their families to come to the U.S. to earn money, send money back home. Those 2 kids came from India and China. So can you imagine the trek that it takes, to make it to this country? It's no easy feat by no means. And I also want to emphasize one thing, just to close off on this. It's always, to gain perspective and understand people, it's always important to put yourself in their shoes, right? And, for people that immigrate to this country, whatever fashion, whether it's legally or come here undocumented, it's never with a spirit of adventure. It's a spirit of necessity. It's actually a pure necessity. Whether that's political reasons or economic reasons, no one wants to leave their home. Not only do you not want to leave your home, but you don't want to have the fear of never being able to go back. In my case, I came here at the age of 2 with my parents. I'm now 36, and I just recently was able to go visit my home for the first time since I was 2. This is the story of millions of people, and again, they're your friends, your neighbors, the people that help raise our kids, people who help put food on our tables. So I just can't underscore the value of how important it is to vote, because those people are counting on you.
You're talking to a couple of guys that's like, I don't know if I'm gonna vote because it's a female. What do you say to them?
Beyond, for the people who say they're not gonna vote for any particular reason, for myself, going into this year, I didn't feel like I wanted to vote, because for so long I felt like, I just only know how to talk from the perspective of the hood. I've been out the hood for a long time, but I was in there for a long time, you know what I mean? So my perspective, even though I've been able to rise up out of that, I'm always thinking about where I come from. The streets I come from is not all about criminal, you know what I mean? Being from the streets is not about being a criminal. The streets that I came from taught me how to be a man. So when it comes to, voting and all of these different things, keep in mind that all of these people we're talking about are elected officials. They're not, happy birthday, I got this official. They not, I just got this just cause official. It's an elected official. So when I have these grievances about, oh, my little homies is tearing up the hood, or oh, it ain't no after school programs, or oh, it ain't this and ain't that. Keep in mind that if you did not vote, You just like chose to basically say, I don't care. You feel me? Like you don't really care. And I keep thinking about that elected official thing. We are in charge of all the shit that we complain about. We really are. Like for all of the things that we have grievances about, all the things that like keep us up at night. For me, as much as good as I've done in life, I always be like, damn, I'm gonna end up back in the hood some way, somehow. Like I have that fear, right? I am in charge of that, but I'm only gonna go as far as the information I know. So if I don't seek out this information, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know about politics. I know we've been doing a tour and all of that. I'm not like, I don't say this happily, I dropped out of school in the 9th grade. So my academic education is somewhat limited, but I did not let that limit to how much I could learn and how much I could teach, how much I could share. So again, elected officials are elected. We have to do our part to elect the change that we want to see. You know what I mean? And I don't want to get into this or that or whoever. That's people's personal issues. We know what it is. Like my brother said, it's the easiest you could possibly do. But we have to get out there because our voices will matter tremendously.
Sure. To me, when we were talking about the things that people say about a woman being the president, and I know you were trying to hop in on a couple of things. You know, I saw you bubbling.
I was getting excited, but I wanted to really just join D in what he was saying about people picking one another apart. And I don't know about y'all, but I come from a family of very judgmental people, right? The black folks in my family, y'all know what I'm talking about. They used to say I wasn't gonna be nothing, I talk too much. Not everybody, I know I got family members in here right now that's like, what you mean? We supported you and always have been with you. Some of them lying. But I was too grown, too fast, too smart, thought I knew too much. And people were very, very judgmental. And they're still like that today. And I think one of the things we have to do is challenge within us the thing that rises up that makes us just hate ourselves and our people. Like as soon as you see somebody that looks like you already know all the things that's wrong with them. They're too big, they're too light, they're too dark, they're too skinny, they're too this, their teeth ain't right, they don't look like they have.
They laugh too much.
But that's what I was gonna get to. They have all these things. And oftentimes, we don't even realize that we're being negative because we have, I'll tell you where we get it from, but that we have these insecurities and these voices in our heads that's telling us we're not enough. I listened to this, Don Lemon posted something the other day. It was a video where this black family, 2 black women and a black man, were sitting together and they were asked about their support for Kamala Harris. And the women, I'm not sure that they realized what they said. But in this interview, one woman says, well, she's just not manly enough to handle poop. She just doesn't have what it takes. Like, I don't think that she's strong enough to do the job. The other woman says she's not educated enough, which that just blows me away. Like, that one just knocks me off my feet. This woman is probably one of the most educated people ever. And I realized that those 2 women don't even know that they're speaking about themselves. And so I've heard so many of my brothers say, well, she just laughs too much. And that's the picking apart where they found this flaw in her that she laughs too much. Damn us to have joy. Damn us not to look like what we going through. Damn her not to come out and say, fuck y'all. Because that's probably what she be wanting to say. When she go home, she probably be like, fuck you and your mama and everybody in your family and fuck your block and I don't even want this shit. When she come out, she gotta laugh to keep from crying. We always have done that, right? And so a lot of times we pick people apart because we're picking ourselves apart. We don't believe that we are worthy, and as a result of that, we push that onto other people. We've been told that we are not enough. We've been told that we are not smart enough for the job. We've been told that we are unable to accomplish what a white man who is not even nearly as smart, not even as qualified, and I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about on your job. I'm talking about in the schools you go to. There are people who in their minds, they are not capable of doing what a less qualified white man can do. And that is not something that happened to us by chance. It didn't happen to us just because somewhere in our minds we just came up with this idea that we're not worthy. It was taught to us. It was actually ingrained in our systems. It was ingrained in us so that we would not believe that we could come together and fight from enslavement all the way till now. It has been taught to us so that we don't believe that our communities can actually be whole. So that is something that we have to challenge. And sometimes I'll be talking to my mom on the phone. I get on the phone call at 7 o'clock, and by 7:30, she has just read me. Your booty too big. You need to lose weight. Your auntie said this and I don't like that. Your cousin is this and what we gonna do about that? And before you get finished, you're just like, Mom, do you realize all the things that you have said that's just so negative in this conversation? And then she'll snap out of it and say, child, you know what, you're right. How you doing? I love you. I love you so much, because we have to call ourselves to a higher place. And so I ask you to challenge those thoughts that come up in your mind about how she looks, how he looks, how they smile. And I'm not, again, forget about Kamala Harris. I'm talking about your brother and sister, the people standing right next to you. Remember that we have been taught to hate ourselves and hate one another. And it's something that we have to fight so hard against, so that we do not allow ourselves to miss the opportunity to have the power that's really in our hands. And I just want to say this last thing, because Killer Mike talked a lot, and so I'm going to talk like him.
Oh shoot, I was about to go right back to Killer Mike.
Hating. No, but I mean, I love to listen to Killer Mike. But this other thing I want to say is that some of us who are sitting in this room are so damn hypocritical. And I'm going to tell you why. Because we claim we are so mad about everything. And then come November 6th, when the election is over and some of us are hitting this pavement, we still protesting police brutality.
November 5th. Talking a lot like November 5.
No, I said after.
Okay.
So after, I'm talking about after, right? So after, you need a day after the election. So if the day, because I'm not going to be with y'all outside on November 5th. Just tell y'all, I might come back out around December 1st, right? Me and Maurice going to plan a march about some things we need to work on. But so many of us claim we are so damn upset. Everything is wrong. We don't want to vote for the Democrats because they didn't fix XYZ. We don't want to do this because these people haven't done anything in our communities. And then when we call y'all and say police brutality, we on that December 13th. And then on March such and such, we're going to be on women's rights. And on this day, we're going to be on this issue. It's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of us out there, and the rest of us stay home and say we ain't got nothing to do with that, but then we complain during election time. I submit to you, brothers and sisters, today, and this is the last thing that I'll say, we've tried men to do everything. We have literally tried men to do everything. Men have been presiding over America for a long time. It is now, for me, an opportunity to see what maybe a woman might be able to do differently. But guess what? Even this woman, if you vote for her, will not do it unless we